Aloha, and welcome to the Sylvan Bell Business Growth and Exit Strategy Podcast, your guide to building companies that command maximum multiples. I'm Sylvan Bell, author of 5 books on business strategy and sales, creator of the Sell Framework, Scale Framework, and Driver Test. I work with owners of $10 million to $250 million companies, whether you're scaling for growth or positioning for a profitable exit. Each episode breaks down one framework, strategy, or concept you can apply this week to grow revenue systematically, scale operations, and maximize enterprise value. Let's get started. Welcome to episode number 29, introducing the Exit Ratio 360, the first scoring system for mid-market exit preparation. I want you to think about something. You can prepare for exit for 2 years and still have no idea whether you're actually ready to sell, because without a scoring system, preparation is just an activity disguised as progress. There's a lot of people who will have conversations about like, hey, I think I'm ready to sell, but they don't know the steps to the dance. They don't know the ingredients that they've got to take care of to put the recipe together. So exit readiness is not just a checklist. It's a composite score against every dimension that a buyer evaluates. When you go to sell, there's items that you don't even think of that are on the list that they are going to want to know about. Almost every exit comes with a probably 200 to 300 question assessment of trying to get a feel for the business. And every deal that I have been a part of has something similar to this. Occasionally, it'll be a video interview. Occasionally, it'll be a written conversation where you're going back and forth. Sometimes it's emails. Sometimes it's prep with one member of one part of the team or prep with another member of another part. They're going to ask all sorts of questions about the business. And by you working off of a composite score to know where you're at, you're able to achieve the maximum multiple for your business, and that's what you want. You don't want to build a house without a blueprint, because that's a hope, and hope isn't a strategy. You're supposed to have a selling thesis because the buyer has a buying thesis. And when they're taking a look at your business, they're looking across every dimension, even if you're not. Systems, revenue quality, client concentration, leadership depth, execution capability, timing, operational readiness. And they come in and they're going to say, hey, we ran the numbers across 7 categories and here's what we found. And if you've never run those numbers, you're in a defense now. You're not in the offense. You want to be on the offense when it comes to you selling your business, because you want to be able to say, hey, here's the money that I'm expecting based upon all the work that I'm putting in. Are you going to get everything you ask for? No, because that's how negotiations work. Right? There's going to be give and take. There's going to be things that they go, yeah, we can see that. And then there's going to be things that make no sense and they're going to say no to them. So you want to be able to match them pace by pace, step by step, conversation by conversation, strategy by strategy. Because if they control the conversation in the first meeting, that means you're probably going to get some dings and dents on your valuation. For you, I want to outline the problem, and it's simple. There's never really been a comprehensive scoring system for mid-market exit preparation. Sure, you've got financial audits to cover the books. You've got operational assessments to cover processes. You've got leadership evaluations that cover the team. But nobody that I know of has connected the dots and put it into a process. And not in a process that's going to allow for you to go, this is how a buyer is going to evaluate the deal. So here's the test that you want to ask yourself right now. What's your exit readiness score? Not a feeling, not like, we're in good shape, we're kind of okay. Like if you had to rank it a number out of 1 to 10, like 1, there's no way, and 10, like I'm 100% certain I'm going to get everything for my money. Where are you at? I'm going to share with you, if it's not an 8, 9, or 10, there's definitely work that needs to be done. At 8 and 9, you're leaving money on the table. At 10, there's probably some money left on the table. There's some maneuvers that you can do to get the maximum multiple to get everything out of your business. But you can't prepare without measuring. You want to be prepared for this conversation. You don't want to go into the conversation and not be able to defend your position or defend your thesis. The problems for you are going to hide in 3 zones, and they're going to be fragmented. 1, you've got the CPA that they're working on financials, and a consultant working on operations, and a broker maybe giving you feedback, but nobody's connecting the dots across all 7 dimensions to put them into one picture. You've got the puzzle pieces, they're just fuzzy, you can't see where they go. And when that happens, you're going to leave money on the table. Second is going to come from false confidence. You scored well on things that you measured, and assume things that you didn't. And like, hey, there's some things that are fine. But when you document every SOP, but you don't address client concentration above 35%, you're going to think that your business looks clean, but there's going to be problems that you're going to get devalued on, and you need to know it. Third is going to be your advisor blind spot. Your advisors typically are specialists. They see their lane, but nobody's looking at the whole road. And the buyers, they're looking at everything. The private equity company, the private investment group, the individual investor, they've got a team that works on this. Don't be confused because I say private investor or private group. Like, they have people who specialize in looking at deals, and that's all they do. And they're good at it. I want to give you a couple of places where buyers detect problems. They may look and they see strong financials, but no system documentation. They're going to assume that all of the instructions live in your head as the founder. When they see great revenue at 40%, but it comes from 2 clients, they see risk. And when they're looking at, like, hey, do we do this deal or not? It's going to come down to risk. You may not know this, but account executives for a lot of these private equity firms cover territories. And what they do is they'll go from area to area and say, hey, we want to buy your company. And then they grade the company based upon what they're told in those meetings. How soon do you want to exit? What are your financials like? What are you thinking that you're going to do? And then they're giving you a grade. And then what's going to happen is you're going to go under letter of intent, LOI, and you're going to turn in your financials. And then Excel Eddie's going to get them. Now, Excel Eddie probably went to a really good school and is fantastic with Excel and understands ratios and numbers better than anybody else. And they run the numbers. Excel Eddie runs the numbers, and then he comes up with a scorecard. And when somebody sees that you're prepared, they're like, game on, we want to give you the maximum multiple. Like, that's not the only thing they're going to look at, so please don't take it that way. But financials are the one place that most companies have the most amount of problems, and when they're clean and the books are good to go, it allows for you to argue for your thesis even better, aka negotiate better. There is a valuation penalty, so when you walk into a deal without a comprehensive score, your buyer's going to create one for you. And they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt on gaps. Anything that's unmeasured or is wrong, they're not going to say, hey, well, we got a conservative estimate. They're going to go, this is probably going to be a ding, and if it's really bad, it's going to be a dent. You really want to have 10 out of 10 documentation ready to go because you can get the maximum multiple that way. And so the way that I look at it is a lot of business owners, a lot of founders, an average number that they live on is about $250,000 a year. At the 10, they have more, they take bonuses at the end of the year, okay? But 250 grand a year is typically what a lot of owners pay themselves. And then, so for every ding and dent that takes $250,000 off the table, that's a year of your retirement. That's a year of your freedom. That's a down payment on a beach house. That's like, I don't know what you're going to do with your money, but $250,000 is not an insignificant sum for anybody. It's real money. And so it's your money. You should get every single bit that you can out of your company. And I always like to bring this up. If you don't do the work, private equity, investor group, individual investor is going to come in and make whatever changes that you didn't want to. They're going to look and they're going to go, this all should have been done. We would have paid more for the business because now we've got to go in and wait longer to get our money back. That's what they're really saying. Every time you get a ding and dent, it's either, hey, we don't believe that you're going to perform the way that you said that you're going to, or B, we know that there's money in the future, but we're going to have to hire people to come in and take this role and take this responsibility. Sure, they're going to give somebody 6 months. And if you got a manager that's okay, at 6 months, they're probably going to let them go. Because they're going to bring in somebody who's like, they're going to think like, this is an investment. We want our investment back. We want our money back. And you need to know that they're going to do it. And message from your sponsor, Scott Sylvan Bell. That's me. If you're getting value from this episode, here's how to go deeper. First, subscribe to my weekly newsletter, The Party, at scottsylvanbell.com. That's where I share the strategies, frameworks, and case studies I don't release anywhere else. You'll get one actionable insight every week you can implement inside your business immediately. Second, while you're on the site, download the complete Sell Framework, Scale Framework, and Drivers Test, all free with scoring guides, worksheets, and step-by-step implementation checklist. These are the same frameworks I use with $10 million to $250 million companies to build systematic revenue, scale operations, and maximize enterprise value. Go to scottsylvanbell.com right now, subscribe to the newsletter, grab the frameworks, and let's keep building companies that command maximum multiples. Let's get going. There's a secondary problem for you not being in control, and that is when you go into a deal, you don't have the upper hand in the negotiations. You're not really equal. You've got a sub-negotiation strategy going on. So you don't want to have weaknesses where you don't know that they exist. You don't want to go into a meeting and be blindsided by a question. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to know everything about your business when it comes to it being sold. Because there's times in all deals where somebody goes, hey, I'll come back and I'll get that information back to you. But if every meeting is, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you. I sat down with somebody who wanted to sell their business probably 3 years ago. And I asked them pretty basic information about the company, profitability, where things were at, what their numbers were like. And every single answer that should have been standard was, I'll get back to you because I don't know. And for me, I kind of went, ooh, this isn't good. And then when I got the numbers, I went, I'm validated. This is not good. This company is not ran well. They were hoping for maximum multiple and they were going to barely get half of the valuation. I'm giving you an extreme and I'm giving you one on purpose because dings become dents if you have too many of them. Because there might be earnouts that you didn't plan for. An earnout is insurance on the deal saying, hey, we're not quite certain that this is going to go the way that we thought that it was going to go. And then you may have had a 6-month transition. Like you're thinking, I'm going to be around for 6 months. Nope, they turned it to 18. Now, this is something that's really hard for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially if they ran a business. They have all the answers and people come to them. And I've seen this happen a few times where the team really wasn't prepared. And so the business sold and the business sold on a Monday. Owner, because this is part of the deal, is there on a Tuesday. And their only job is to answer questions. They've, for the most part, lost control. There's a new ops manager. It's the person who was below you that's running the company. So you no longer have control, but people are coming to you and like, hey, boss. Hey, chief. Hey, El Jefe, like, we got questions and you got to point and go talk to Bob, go talk to Steve, go talk to Jane, go talk to Mary. They run everything now. I'm just here to answer questions. And then for 3, 6, 12, 18 months, you're stuck at the desk answering questions. You no longer have control of your business and you're watching everything change. Your biggest hope, your biggest goal for having the exit ratio 360 is your business sells on a Monday or Tuesday and you are out of there by 10 o'clock in the morning and you don't really have to go back because your team's trained. Sure, they may call you. They may say, we want you to stick around for a week. But when you get a giant lump sum of money in your bank account, and we're talking millions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars, you start changing about like, I really don't want to go into the office. I know of a deal personally where a company got sold for a lot of money and the owner was told, okay, you're going to stick around for 12 months. Okay. Stick around for 12 months. Well, that owner after a week stopped showing up. And then a van rolled up one day, like 3 months later, a van rolled up one day and it was a private equity company and they were not happy. And they walked into the building and they said, where is owner? And the team was like, not here. When was the last time that the owner was here? Well, we haven't seen the owner for 3 months. There was a major holdback on that deal, and that owner lost a significant sum of money. Because at the end of the day, they're like, I don't want to be here anymore. I sold my company, but they gave up a huge chunk as a holdback because the concern was they weren't going to show up, and they didn't. And there was other problems with the deal, but it was not an insignificant sum of money. It was a lot. It was a lot of money. And if that owner would have just showed up for the 3 months that they needed to be there, they would have walked away with a ton. I wish I could tell you the number, but it was a ton. You want to look prepared in the eyes of the team that you're going to be having a conversation with. Sophisticated buyers with platform companies, private equity groups, they compare targets. They use structured evaluations. And if you show up without your own comprehensive score, the next company is going to look better if they are just incrementally better than you. You want to be the shining darling on the hill that everybody wants to have a conversation with because it gives you better negotiation power and it gives you more lists of buyers. Lower confidence means less competitive offers. That's how it is in any industry. Fewer offers leave less for you at the table. What you don't want is to get to the end to find out that you don't have as much worth in your company as you thought that you did. Buyer pool shrink when your preparation looks incomplete, and you don't want that to happen. So you may be saying, hey, Scott, how do I fix this? Well, the fix is the exit ratio 360, and it's the first and only 360 point business valuation system designed specifically for mid-market exit prep. Here's how it works. There's seven items in here. Launch is 30 points. Score is 100 points. Sell is 40 points. Scale is 50 points. Driver is 60 points. Exit's 40 points. And bench is 40 points. And each one of those areas helps you confirm, like, is my company ready to sell? And you actually have a score to get it filled in. Now, you can take that score and divide it by 360, and that gives you your exit ratio. That's where the term came up. But before you do anything, you really got to go through the ready framework. Are you ready to sell or not? Right? If your toes are kind of like, I'm kind of into this, you're not going to get the same experience. You're not going to put in the work. You're not going to put in the same effort. For the most part, there might be people on a Wednesday on a full moon when you stub your toe getting out of bed that's the truth. But you should really go through the ready evaluation system to figure out, like, hey, have I passed through that gateway or not? Am I ready to sell my business? Like, I'm not talking like, hey, are the financials, like, are you ready? Are you ready to make that change with your identity, with who you are? Fix number 2 on this is people. A scoring system only works if the right people are involved with the scoring. It's not a founder-only exercise. Your leadership team needs to be in on the investment of time as well, and they need to be able to go through the assessment. Your ops team is going to have scale. Your sales leader team is going to have sell. Your CFO is going to be anchored to financial dimensions of your score. And your whole team's going to be looking at measurement readiness. When this happens, you get 2 things. You get an accurate score, and then you also get to assign areas to fix the business need to be fixed so you can exit with the maximum multiple. The cool thing is, this is a quarter by quarter process. And so your documentation in the exit ratio 360 is the baseline that becomes your roadmap. Your composite score today, it's not going to be the same score all the time. It's the starting line today. And you have room for improvement. You've got time for improvement, and that's what you want. You want time on your side to prepare for an exit. You want to be prepared for a 5, 4, 3, 2-year exit. And what you need to know is where you're documenting problems, it allows for you to fix them. It allows for your team to make decisions. It allows for you to allow for them to manage the way that it's supposed to be done. What you're looking for is quarterly improvement. And when it comes down to it, when you're having your selling thesis, you're not saying that we guessed. You're saying, hey, look, we've measured, we've improved, and we can prove it. A company is buying your history. They're buying your history and hoping it's going to perform the way that it's performed over the past 3 years. And if you can prove that you have above market, right? Let's say that your market, your sector, your industry, standard profit is good at 20%. If you can prove 40% profit year over year over year above the market, you have a premium company. You should ask for the maximum multiple, and that comes down to your evidence. Because you can say, hey, look, we moved our score quarter over quarter. We had a weak framework score. We changed things. The distance between the numbers on the scores is the distance or the change in your valuation, what you can ask for inside of the industry. And if a company coming in wants to come in and say, hey, I want proof, now you have it. Like, hey, we've been working on this. There's changes that we've made. So there's a self-test, right? You can't go through an episode like this without a self-test. And before the next episode, what you really want to do is write down these 7 dimensions: system maturity, client concentration, owner dependence, revenue quality, operational revenue, execution capability, and leadership depth. Score from 1 to 10, and then multiply by 5. And it's going to give you roughly where you sit. Is it going to be perfect? No. But if you're like, hey, Scott, give them to me again. Okay, system maturity, client or customer concentration, owner independence. That's how long you get to stay away from the company. Revenue quality, operational readiness, execution capability, and leadership depth. You're going to take all those numbers, you're going to add them up, and you're going to multiply it by 5. It's a ratio. It's a number. It makes it really easy. If it's lower than it's expected, that's okay. It tells you got some work to do, but at least you know. I got a friend who's a copywriter, and one of his favorite sayings, it's not your fault you didn't know, but now that you know, it's your responsibility. This is one of those times in life. It's not your fault you didn't know, but now that you know, it's your responsibility. And now that you found it, you can fix it. Because either way, you're going to pay. Either you're going to pay with the time that you have with your company and the improvements that you get, or you're going to pay by not getting enough at the exit, which is also known as a ding or a dent or a massive discount. The next episode is all going to be about ready, and it's going to say, hey, are you ready to exit? But your job tonight is to write down those 7 dimensions of the score and be honest. Don't grade your potential. Grade how things are today. What is it like? Grade yourself on proof, because that's your baseline. Everything that you build is going to start from here. But just remember, once you go down this path of saying, I'm considering selling or I'm considering growing, you're going to look at your business completely different. And that's because you've activated your reticular activating system. Mahalo for listening to the Scott Sylvan Bell Business Growth and Exit Strategy podcast. Here's what's available to you right now. First, subscribe to this podcast so you get every framework we release. Second, visit scottsylvanbell.com to access the Sell Framework, Scale Framework, and Driver Test. All free with complete scoring guides and implementation worksheets. Third, subscribe to my weekly newsletter, The Party, where I break down strategies and frameworks you won't find anywhere else with one actionable insight every week. Go to scottsylvanbell.com and enter your email. And if this episode added value, share it with another business owner building a $10 million to $250 million company. Until next time, keep building companies that command maximum multiples. Aloha.